some of this money that's in place. But $12,000 to remove from this basically represents a little shy of a penny. Matt, you and I had a conversation, and I thought that the reality was is that we could actually go a penny and a half rather than a 3-cent tax increase. That was the consensus that you and I worked last night or the night before. It was the night before.
Well, can I make a suggestion there? I mean, it's clear from Ms. McAllister's comments that you're probably going to have to revisit the budget after this next announcement from the state. And if you're going to have to revisit it for that purpose, can't you revisit it for the other purposes that you proposed?
Well, I would really prefer to just simply introduce with this reduction to it now, Randy. And if it's going to be amended and increased, then that's the time to do it.
Excuse me, but I'd like to make this recommendation. When we first sent out the budget to everyone, it represented a 3.5-cent tax increase. After I met with Mr. Dilge and Ms. Owen, it got reduced down to 2.9. That's where we're at now. I resent that budget out to everyone. In the meantime, I met with the mayor, and his changes resulted in about $56,000 reduction, but I guess you have since modified that. But the state is adamant about keeping on schedule. They even came out with an email to everyone, to all the CFOs, saying that regardless of what goes on with this money that we're getting from the federal government, that we should continue to introduce and adopt our budgets accordingly. And that's what I would like to do tonight, is to introduce this, and then let's see if we can amend it, or if we don't amend it at the May meeting where we're going to have the public hearing.
So I'm going to make a motion that the budget is introduced as how I have prepared, to the amount of $1,498,341.86. That is simply a $12,000 reduction, other than what you had said, Mr. Moore.
Well, I don't know what those changes are, but it's up to council whether they want to do that or not. So I don't know what what it is. So
Well, why don't we just give me 90 seconds and you guys write down the numbers and you know what they are. It's a
Mr.
simple
Mayor,
thing.
with
We're
all
still
due
arguing
respect,
about stopping from doing this.
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, I am the kind of person who needs to see these things and to digest them and to research them. I can't do a fly-by-night vote on something I don't know all the details about. That's not in the residents' best interest.
So in the public works line item, we have $70,000. I dropped that down.
Wait a minute,
Okay.
did we get why are we discussing this if there's been no
Right.
second?
You don't have a second.
if you drop it down to 50, that's 20,000. You said 12,000, didn't you?
Yeah.
Overall.
$12,000 reduction.
Well, it needs to be a second.
20,000.
Excuse me?
If you go from 70 to 50, that's 20.
And then I put money in there for the truck.
We already did that. That's in there.
You're nowhere near ready to discuss this. You're just not.
Be a second.
There's not enough time, and this is
Council
huge.
feels it's not a good idea to have a budget workshop meeting next week, so that we can have this finalized, rather than sitting here at another meeting doing this the way that you want to do it. Guys, we have to have a budget workshop meeting. This is the first time in my 25 years I've been on council where council didn't want to do a budget workshop meeting. That's insane.
Council had no problem accepting the CFO's proposal, asking questions, coming to consensus.
Is that a budget
The
workshop?
only person that's keeping secrets and not keeping people informed such that we could have consensus tonight is you.
Is that a budget workshop?
It worked.
Yes or no?
I have a question for you, Mayor. So, no, it was not a budget workshop because
That's what I was trying to do,
apparently when
is have a
properly
workshop.
managed, the budget workshop isn't necessary. So let me ask you a question. Based on our new EPLI premium, it is, and the instantaneous nature with which litigation can pop up on us, as has been the experience in the past and had to be addressed within days, not weeks or months, days. It is incumbent upon us to keep $50,000 somewhere at all times immediately accessible, because that's the new maximum we could have to pay for EPLI under our new coverage, not to mention the new deductible. Does your budget adjustment include that $50,000? Does it give us that extra surplus and set it aside just in case we need it?
Did you ask that to Judd? Because I'm going off of, most of what he has here. Did you ask that
Yes,
to
we've
Judd?
discussed it.
And does he have it in there?
We got the legal.
Yes.
5,000.
So if he has it in there, then there's your answer. You don't need to ask me that question. You already know the answer.
So you're just not gonna answer the question.
I just answered the question. I saw it in here.
So you,
Nelson?
oh, did you?
I went along
Show it to me.
with the figure that was here.
Please show it to me. Where
It's
is
right
it
in your-
exactly?
Guys,
I
There's
could've
a
given it
motion
on the
on
night.
we
the
can sit here till,
floor
we can
and
sit here
no
till 10 o'clock
second.
tonight arguing over this here. Why don't we just simply have a budget workshop meeting?
There's a
Let's just get
motion on
this
the
over-
floor with no second.
The motion fails for lack of a second.
Okay. We need to have a budget workshop meeting, guys. We just can't continue to avoid me. We are not doing the city's business. We're grandstanding. It is our responsibility to have a budget workshop meeting. It's the single most
Mayor, you're
important
the only
aspect-
one who's not reaching out to everybody.
Excuse
You
me.
will never
It's the
call
single-
me.
It's the single most important aspect of the city council to do the budget, and you refuse to have a budget workshop meeting. That's your number one responsibility, and you don't want to do it. I'm making the olive branch, we need to have a budget workshop meeting, and you're saying, well, we already talked to Judd. Judd doesn't set the budget.
If
Judd
we
doesn't
adopt,
prepare the budget.
if we adopt the budget Judd sent out and agree to a meeting, can we do that tonight?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Is everybody okay with that?
We need to go over these numbers, guys. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's not like I really love coming to another meeting, but it's our responsibility to do it. And we have to. Is council willing to go along with having a budget meeting for next week? Yes or no?
Next week I will be out of town. I can't do it next week.
What day are we gonna do it?
Week after's fine. If in fact we're gonna do it then.
I won't be here that week.
Where will you be? Vacation?
Wherever he wants to be. So the week after that then.
What week will that be?
Well, if we're gonna hold it on a Wednesday night, it's April 28th.
Hey, next week you've got a planning board meeting anyway.
So we're not married into this any particular Wednesday night. We can do it on a Monday night. We can't do it on the fourth Monday night because court's in session then. By virtual, that is. But you know something, Judd, we can still do it because if we're operating out of the city clerk's office over here, you and I, and they're all home, we could do it any given night we want. We no longer have to be held captive of, other things that are going on in the city here. We just simply do this out of the office. Let's pick a night, guys.
And can I suggest we do the motion?
I'd like to get a consensus that we're gonna have a budget workshop meeting and authorize Judd to advertise for it as well, before I start getting suckered into something that I don't agree upon. Is council willing to have a budget workshop meeting? And if so, what date can we agree to? Matt, let's start with you.
I'm pretty much free Monday through Thursdays.
I'm free any night next week. I'm free every night. I'm a cheap date. I'm free every night.
I told you next week is no good for me.
Not even on Friday or Thursday,
Not even on Friday or Thursday.
and certainly not Monday.
Can we do the 28th?
We're getting so
That's
close
good
to
for
the
me.
next city council meeting. What about during the week of the 18th?
I won't be here.
You're not gonna be here all the entire week.
Friday night or Saturday.
So what
28th
are we
sounds
looking at,
good.
the 26th? 26, 27?
Those work for me.
Mrs. Owen, 26 good for you? Mrs. Owen, 26 good for you?
I'm not available on the 26th or the 27th.
What about the 28th? Matthew,
20th is good for me.
Mr. Dilch,
I can be available on the 28th.
somebody make a motion.
Motion for what, Mayor?
I make a motion that we introduce the budget that Judd set out.
Second.
That's,
Roll call.
Mr. Dilge,
yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Owen,
Yes.
Mayor Benesia.
No. Moving down the line here. Somebody make a motion to do the budget now, to introduce. That was, okay, never mind. Get sidetracked thinking about something.
Do we thank Carol?
Carol, you
Thank
gonna
you for
be,
coming out, Carol. Thank you for
Carol,
your patience.
Carol, will you be available for that meeting, the 28th?
I'll keep the 28th open.
And it's very likely that maybe we'll have some information from Senator Mendez or Booker's office as to what we're supposedly gonna be allowed to do with our money.
Actually, I'm scheduled at another municipal board meeting at 7, so I could do it earlier. Or I can have one of my senior managers on the call.
This is the only business that we're gonna do. We could do it at 8. Or if you wanna have one of your senior managers, what
I'll make
about,
sure one of us is available. Yeah,
what about the one that does Brigantine, Mike Cessna?
I can check with one of them. Yes, no problem.
I'm okay with that. And you'll brief them in as to what we have here for our budget and we'll go.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
Carol.
night.
Thanks
All
for
right.
coming in.
Thank you.
tonight.
Sure. Good night.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
We have the engineer's report.
Yes, good evening. I'll be brief this evening. The closeout documents for the city hall improvements, they've been sent to the city. Just need a couple of signatures and those forms returned, and we'll get that back to the Improvement Authority for final closeout. In regards to Fifth Avenue, we received a review letter from the Pinelands. We made those revisions to the plans, provide some additional information, and sent that back to their office. We're just awaiting their review and hopefully acceptance. And we can move forward with getting the approval from the state and going out to bid. And then lastly, our proposal for the survey and engineering services were approved by council for the Maple Avenue project. We were on site late last week, completed the survey, and we're in the process of drafting the existing conditions plan, and then we'll proceed with the design. And hopeful to have that out sometime this summer and have a late summer, early fall project for that roadway resurfacing.
Mike, have we heard anything from the Pinelands yet with regards to the Fifth Avenue drainage pond and that our drainage pond that we have over here parallel with the soccer field? Is that going to be okay? Are they moving forward to letting us put this thing out to bid to get it paved?
That's what we have. We have submitted right now, and I have in my report and calculations trying to avoid doing any expansion to the municipal basin and putting any kind of drainage in the roadway. Showing calculations that we're doing an offset. Essentially, we have a gravel roadway that's all over with dirt shoulders, and by streamlining the road and making it a consistent straight line, and also enhancing the shoulders with grass and topsoil and seed, that we have an offset in the runoff. That's my report, a drainage report I prepared and submitted to them, and hopefully they accept that, and we can just move forward with the paving of the project.
Mike, one of the crazy things here is I got done work early one day coming from Cumberland County, and it was raining pretty damn hard that night, and that afternoon, I should say. And I stopped and I just simply pulled over and shut my truck off, and I'm watching. That rain is just simply rolling right off of that gravel road, and it's going right into the swamp. A little bit of it, yeah, will perk, but the lion's share of all that rainwater, it was going right into the swamp. I mean, they're just really beating us to death with regulations that you kind of really scratch your head and wonder, what are they thinking? Why are they doing this to us? There's no,
Exactly, and
I don't know if you would agree with that, but anybody's welcome at any given time, go over there on a downpouring rain, and you'll see that water is just running right off of the gravel, and the lion's share is just all going on both sides of the road because it's ground. It is ground, and it's going on both sides of the shoulder into the swamp. They don't make any sense. It sounds good to them, and they're gonna try to stick with it. But the reality is, they're not right. A small minuscule amount that does perk into the gravel road, yes it does. But the lion's share runs right off of it.
Right, and that's the argument that we're making, and I'm just hopeful they accept our report, our calculations, and everything we're demonstrating. And we showed them, we had historical aerials showing that this road was in place back in the 1930s. So we're going on almost 100 years now that this road's been in place. Any kind of voids for gravel have long been clogged up by sediment and various debris, almost rendering the road as an impervious surface. So that's our report and our calculations, and I'm hopeful that they accept our findings.
Are you talking about Fifth Avenue?
Yes.
Yes.
And Mayor, your statement is, and Mr. Fralinger, your statement is that the majority of the water runs off the road now to such an extent that paving it won't make much of a difference as it relates to runoff?
Not much, Nelson, honestly.
Well,
Not much.
in addition to that, we are also going to be enhancing the shoulders. Right now, you have a gravel road with a rough dirt base. As part of the project, we're going to have erosion control matting for the slopes, as well as additional topsoiling and seeding that will, in addition, offset any runoff from the shoulders. So we're further enhancing the roadway by eliminating existing runoff.
Gentlemen, I live within a few hundred feet of the area you're talking about.
And I live in the swamp. The swamp's me.
Meeting's not open to the public. Please
I
know,
don't care. The swamp is me, Mr. Venezia.
we care.
I've been there for 32 years. You sat there for 5 minutes in a rainstorm?
Make a motion, we
Mr. Fralinger, continue,
recognize Mr. Goss.
We're gonna do this at every meeting then, right? We'll just allow all the residents, so. You talk about we can't get the meetings done by 10 o'clock, but when we continue to just keep on.
From your
delaying-
dysfunctional crap, Mr. Venezia.
No, Mr. Johnson, you're out of
Stop,
order.
lighten up, gentlemen. Mr.
Meeting's out
Goss,
of- no,
you've got your
he's out
5
of
minutes,
order.
please. And
He's
you've
out of
got,
order.
and
I'm
you've got a
sorry.
good point, so please make your point.
He's out of order. I'm sorry, and it's gonna continue. And the
Can I
meeting's
get a
not open
second
to
to
the
my
public.
motion?
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second,
Mr.
you gonna call
Mr.
for a
Rock,
vote,
what's the
Mayor?
purpose of a chair? What is the purpose of a chair when council just overrides everything? Who's the authority here then? It's the council, and the mayor means nothing, correct?
Mayor, there's a motion and a second to open
You don't
it.
see that in the Senate, you don't see that in the Congress. It's only here that you see this, Randy. Why are you allowing this?
Mayor, there's a motion and a
I
second.
heard you, and I'm aware, and I don't think that it's right. We're not gonna be able to get this meeting out in a timely fashion, because we're gonna be doing a lot of rambling, and we need to move this meeting. We have a very heavy agenda, and it's not
Are
gonna
we
happen.
gonna vote?
No, I don't want to. I'm not opening the meeting to the public. It's my call. When the meeting is open to the public, then we'll do it.
Mayor,
Get this meeting through.
Mayor, there's a motion and a second. It needs to
Randy,
be,
what did I say? It doesn't work that way.
it does work that way, Mayor.
Mayor, you can obey the rules, or I and perhaps even Mrs. Owen will withdraw from the meeting, and you will no longer have a quorum.
You guys have been sticking together all year long, haven't you?
You're gonna call for a vote, Mayor?
Sure, Mayor. Go ahead, Mayor Dilge. Do it. Call for the vote. You're the mayor now. Go ahead. This is your show. Go ahead. Call for the vote.
Mr. Dilch,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
What are we voting on? I was using the bathroom.
Open the
Let
meeting.
Mr. Gossen speak. He has far more experience with this stuff than we do. It's his house.
Yes.
Ms. Owen,
Yes.
Mayor Benesia.
No, and I'm gonna ask that this be presented within 2 minutes. This is not gonna be a half-hour presentation.
Mr. Freilinger, you and I had a conversation about the Fifth Avenue project, and thank you. I've had an opportunity to pace off some steps. The road's gonna be 24 feet wide, and then you speak of a shoulder that's gonna be extended beyond that. There isn't,
The road's not gonna be, the road's not gonna be 24 feet wide.
it's not.
If I recall, it's only gonna be, I believe, 18 feet wide cartway, which is the minimum, for RSIS standards.
Okay, because, yeah, without adding fill, you were never gonna get to 24 feet and have a shoulder space.
No.
I am
And we're gonna
concerned
have
when
some
you
very
say
limited.
that it shouldn't have much impact. Here's a TV commercial out now that talks about how things could be a problem when they're almost. And so I am hypersensitive, and forgive me, Mayor, for that, for my hypersensitivity, but I don't think that you have a place to speak to sitting in a rainstorm for 5 minutes there to know anything about what you're speaking of. Thank you, Mr. Freilinger, for your time and your consideration.
Sure.
I'd like to say something if I may.
Go ahead.
Mr. Freilinger, it just, I don't live as close as Mr. Gossen does. I'm about 400 feet further away than he is. But it just seems to me very logical that if there was not a problem with runoff, particularly in stormy times, if water wasn't loading up on the sides of the road, there wouldn't be culverts underneath it. There wouldn't be pipes underneath the street transferring water from one side to the other. If there wasn't a concern for a load of water coming from somewhere, we wouldn't be passing water from one side of the road to the other. And for the record, in the time that I've lived here, I have many times seen that road very sloppy. That's why the city keeps going back and grading it. That's why we keep dropping stone and crushed concrete on it, because when it rains hard, that road gets very sloppy. If all that water now is going to drain to the swamps on both sides, I don't know. You're the engineer. Maybe you know what water does on the earth better than I do. I'm sure you do. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a mess. If it's a mess, it's going to be a real mess. Thank you.
I agree, Mr. Dilge, with what you said. That road does always seem to get sloppy, but, we have the culverts there and that water is redirected to go elsewhere. It just doesn't simply lay in the one spot. That is the beauty of having the culverts that are there. And also, by having them shoulders there, that's gonna help to alleviate some of the slop, because that's gonna absorb the water. That's the purpose of what the shoulder is gonna be doing. It'll be soiled and it'll have grass on it, which will help to absorb and stop part of the issue. Would you agree, Mr. Freilinger, on that one?
Correct. That's our intent, to increase beef up the shoulder. It's very barren right now, hard, impervious. So we're looking to, help increase the permeability of the shoulder as part of the project.
If it doesn't work the way that it's intended to work, and the water loads up and we have to do something, if something has to be engineered and constructed to compensate for the water that runs off the road, does the state enhance their grant to pay for that, or do the Estell Manor taxpayers pay for that? If this doesn't work, and it requires more.
We're beholden to an outside agency approval with the Pinelands, and we're providing, engineering calculations demonstrating compliance with DEP and Pinelands comprehensive management plan. So, I can't speak to any additional funding, but this area here that you're speaking of is a low point, and it drains, various areas throughout the city, and it's actually considered a wetlands, and that's the reason that you have the culverts there. I believe there's 3 18-inch HDP pipes, that help the water traverse, from essentially north to south in that area. And what we're proposing is an offset that runoff that currently exists. So it's a net wash, and we're complying with the Pinelands Comprehensive Management Plan and DEP stormwater regs.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to take so much of your time. I appreciate your rebuttal. Thank you.
No problem.
Moving down the line here, we have a bill list. Thanks, Mike, for coming out tonight. We'll see you in the next.
Sure. Have a good evening. I'll see you
Okay.
guys later.
Thank you.
Let me say to council that I revised the bill list, and it is on Google Docs, and I did give a hard copy to our mayor. And to confirm, the amount is $484,985.86, if you can see that on Google Docs. Hopefully I uploaded it correctly. It says bill list revised.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
It should be done by a professional, I think.
Anything that says April 7th on the date, second column are the ones that I added.
Well, Peter Lumber charged us $991 for 2 doors.
Yes, they're very heavy duty doors, windows, the casings.
I got a pre-hung door for under $200, a steel door. Wow. I actually have some concerns, Randy, about your building here. I mean, I'm looking at your list here, and quite honestly, I mean, absent of even having a contract from you right now, I mean, we're charging us for an awful lot of phone conversations, and I don't know why that is. That should be part of your contract, like it was last year. How is it no longer that part of your contract?
Depends on what the subject matter was, Mayor.
Well,
I'll be happy to sit down and go through it with you. I don't think we need to take.
I'll do it over the phone with you tomorrow or sometime, but, I just kind of really think that, you're a $2,000 retainer, and then you have $5,000 of outside work.
Mayor, I'm happy to review it with you.
At the rate we're going, it'd be cheaper to have an in-house attorney, and he's here all week long for 40 hours a week.
I make a motion to pay the bill list of $484,985.86.
I second.
Is there any other further questions? Roll call.
Mr. Dilch,
Yes.
Mr. Olston,
Yes.
Ms. Owen,
Yes.
Mayor Vinesia.
Yeah, with the exception of 0103, I really would like to discuss with Mr. Lafferty about some of this billing here, so I'm going to abstain on that vote.
The bill list has been approved as presented, correct?
The bill list is approved as presented. There's three.
Thank you.
There's actually 4 of us that have voted for it. I just abstained for Mr. Lafferty's.
Okay, thank you.
Once again, I don't have any copies of any minutes.
These were all sent out because at the last meeting you asked for the minutes.
I don't have a hard copy of it, Judd. That's what I asked to have, is a hard copy of this stuff so I can look at it. I can't.
Did you check your box? Because
I checked my box the other night when I was in here. It's not in there. I don't have any copies of any minutes. No,
It's hard
no copy
voting
of
on
it.
something you don't have in hand.
Excuse me?
It's hard voting on something you don't have in your hand.
I don't have any reports, whether it's the clerk's report, the fire company's I don't have any reports in any minutes. You can't expect to vote on stuff that you just.
I'm just positive I gave it to him because you made a mention at the last meeting.
Here's everything that I have. You want to go through this here? There are no minutes. There's nothing.
I did it right after the last meeting, but if you're uncomfortable, then let's just pass on it and we'll look at them at the, next meeting.
Let's hold off on it. Correspondence, I think this one's rather simple. 12th Avenue, I don't know what she expects us to do. And going down to Green Acres, they're asking us, do we have any knowledge of if there's any spoils or spillage of oils or anything like that? Quite honestly, each parcel there, to the best of my recollection that I saw, was somewhere on about $350 a year.